Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Kelsey and I'm a member of Group 2. The other members are Andrea Dixon, Victor Ortiz, Merrick Martin, and William Aitchison. And today we are going to be talking about backend databases, more specifically MySQL. I will hand it off to Victor to talk about technical specifications.
Okay, so tech specs depend on the download of MySQL and the purpose for downloading it. There's numerous editions of MySQL, such as MySQL Community, MySQL Enterprise, Cluster, Workbench. Really just depends on what you're needing a relational database for. And regarding the purpose of the download, for example, MySQL Server is light enough to run on a single laptop or desktop in conjunction with your other applications. You can use it for simple things like making a picture database without really task saturating your machine. However, specs are also dependent on the intended OS that you're going to use. For example, running MySQL on a 32-bit OS generally limits RAM usage to 2 gigs per process, and that's fine if you're using MySQL for simple tasks. However, if it's probably best to run a 64-bit MySQL process on a 64-bit operating system so that your RAM limitations are lifted and you're able to perform more memory-intensive tasks. And here's an example of how different operating systems have different tech specs. And next slide, next presenter, please.
So what does MySQL cost? It really depends on the version that you're downloading. There is a community edition that is for free, and it is very popular in its usage. However, Oracle has created other commercial editions that are paid for on annual subscriptions. That cost can be anywhere from $2,000 from the standard edition all the way up to $10,000 for the cluster edition. One of the unique additions to the commercial version is the cloud version of MySQL. Their revenue matrix is actually a pay-as-you-go. So what you do is you'll receive a monthly invoice for the usage of their services. Next slide, please. Features.
I'm going to talk about some of the features of the different editions of MySQL. As Andrea mentioned, there are several editions. There's not just the standard enterprise and cluster that you see here. There's also the community edition, embedded, and classic, which are sort of the smaller editions that have fewer features and they're limited on what all you can do with them. As you can see on this graphic right here, it breaks it down for you very easily of what actually is included on each edition. So the standard edition is going to come with the basics, replication, connectors, database server, and the MySQL Workbench is like your homepage where you get started and where you get to do all those different things. As you move up to enterprise, you're going to get all these other features like monitor, backup, security, and of course, as you move up with the editions, you're going to get more features and options, and you'll have more and more to do. The MySQL Cluster CGE stands for Cluster Grade Edition. It enables the users to meet the challenges of next generation web, cloud, and communication services, which basically means the Cluster CGE edition means you can get data from all different kinds of sources and in larger quantities. As I mentioned, the MySQL Workbench is the user interface, which you'll get to see in a second. And security includes the authentication, encryption, anything that would fall under the security feature. And the last little set, the scalability, we'll go into more detail in another slide. But as you can see, the Cluster CGE edition, because it's the most expensive, has pretty much everything. And all the editions do come with Premier support, which means you can have all the support incidents you need. You have access to the knowledge base to share information about issues that you've come across and what the fixes were, and any maintenance releases that are pushed out, and any support that you may need. And we will move on to the next.
Perception. Oracle has actually created an internationally known company with MySQL. They have sales offices in Canada, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, China, and India. They're also being utilized by a lot of industry leaders, and this slide shows just a sample of the companies utilizing MySQL. Next slide, please. So what do the users think about this system? It really depends on the company that you're asking. Collectively, users like MySQL. It is easy to manage. They like the reliability and speed of the system. They think that they view the functionalities as very intuitive, and it's easily operatable with other operating systems like Linux. So overall, companies do like MySQL. However, most of the complaints come from small companies, and cost is the biggest issue. They feel that it's too expensive for smaller companies. And with the free downloaded version of MySQL, there's limited functionality. It requires a lot of hand-on maintenance and support. And there's been some issues with connection and installation of the system. But once again, a lot of those complaints are coming from smaller companies. The recommendations that people tend to make with this system is that they want to improve the download version, the free download version. They'd like to see more database space. They'd like to see a lot more functionality and a lot more of the intuitive features that you see on the commercial version. Also, MySQL is viewed as a off-the-shelf product, so companies would like to be able to customize the functionalities that they want in the features that they're interested in. But overall, it is a well-liked system. Next slide.
User interface. The user kind of interact with the MySQL database via two means. The standard mean is the command shell, which is more for a database administrator who has very experienced knowledge on scripting and coding. The most common interface is the MySQL workbench, which is just as powerful as a command shell. However, it comes with actual built-in query tools that connects to the command shell. That's for more users who are graphical usability, and it provides some scripting ability too. There's other third-party means to connect into the MySQL. Since it's an open source operating system, the source code is available, so they develop other GUI tools like PHP, MyAdmin, WebMine, and MySQL plugin. Next slide, please.
Hey, I'm doing high availability. So an important aspect of SQL servers, especially server systems that are being used by like big organizations like hospitals, warehouses, businesses that need to store a lot of information that needs to be available, is high availability. And what high availability refers to is the system's ability to be durable and to not fail a lot, and also its ability to come back from those failures. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to delivering high availability. And when you look at high availability, there's two factors to look at. Availability. Well, there's two components to high availability. That's availability itself, which is what I said in the beginning. It's ability to cope with and recover from failures, and scalability, which is its ability to spread the load across multiple databases, multiple MySQL servers. And the correct availability solution, it depends on many factors like the level of availability. The right high availability solution largely depends on the level of availability that's required, like how vital are these SQL servers, how often do they need to stay up, the type of applications being deployed, Is it storing information for a small business or something much larger like a hospital? And accepted best practices within the environment, like the better the practices that you're using. Like, are you doing stuff that keeps the SQL servers optimized? And do you have a lot of redundancies in the system? Like, that's very important. Next slide. And MySQL in particular offers a few solutions for attaining high availability. First one's MySQL replication, and that enables data from one MySQL server or the master to be copied onto multiple MySQL database servers or the slaves. Fabric is it's a system for managing a farm of MySQL servers, and Cluster, which is it's a technology that enables clustering of in-memory databases in a shared nothing system. And each solution has their own use cases. So replication, it's perfect for keeping failures isolated. And if the master server goes down, one of the slave servers can become the new master server. So that's nice. Fabric, it is a middleware software and also supports a sharding, which is the partitioning of the data into independent sets, and it directs each client to the partition that has the data the client wants to modify. And Cluster, because attaining high availability is very expensive, because you need, if you want, to put in place redundant systems, that means like multiple servers. And with Cluster, it allows you to run it on fairly inexpensive hardware, and the minimum requirements for the hardware and the software is fairly low. And it also has an auto sharding feature. Next slide.
Wrap up. MySQL is a well-known relational database management system that is supported on numerous operating systems, Mac, Linux, Windows system. It's reliable and easy to use because of the structured query language. Because it's open source software, the source code is available to our developers. Developers can customize plugin for MySQL. And it's also have vendor support from Oracle. So overall, it's a great database and relationship database management system. That's it. Any of your question?